Champions Cup knockout stages start this weekend. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. The pool stages of this competition feel like they were so long ago. We've had, plenty of domestic action. We have the Six Nations as well in between. And, it's time to unpause this competition and see who can progress to the quarterfinals. So we're going to run down through each of the matchups, have a look at how they got here, and then make a prediction as well. So we are going to start with the first game of the weekend, and that is Northampton Saints versus Castres Olympique. It's on Friday, and I believe it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. I think all the times are showing in my local time here, so say 9 o'clock here in Spain, but I'm pretty sure it's 8 o'clock. And this one is at the Franklin's Gardens, so the Cinch Stadium, Franklin's Gardens. And yeah, looking at this, we have, Northampton, who last year they were runners up to Bordeaux, versus Castres, who made a quarterfinal last year. So one of these teams is not making it, at least as far as they did last year. And looking at it, it's probably going to be poor El Castres, but let's have a bit more, of a look at how the teams have done in terms of getting here. So Northampton, they finished second in Pool 2 behind Bordeaux, and Castres finished third in Pool 2, which was won by Bath. And then in terms of their route here, so Northampton, they started away win against Bow, 35-27. Then they beat the Bulls 50 points to 5 at home. Then a loss to Bordeaux, 50 points to 28. Then finished the pool stages with a win against Scarlets at home, 43 points to 28. Castres then started their pool, lost to Gloucester away, 34-14. Then at home, they beat Edinurgh 33-0. At home again, but this time they lost to Bath, 43 points to 20. And then finally that, famous win against Munster at Thomond Park, 31-29. Real kind of drama at the end of that game and got them through 31-29, as I said. So looking at these two, you got Northampton first in the Prem at the minute, Castres down at 8th in top 14. It's very hard to look beyond a Northampton win, honestly, for this one. Not going to beat around the bush. Going to predict a Northampton win in that one. Okay, on to the next game then, and it's Bath versus Saracens. So all Premiership affair. It is on Saturday, 4th of April, and this one is a 3 o'clock kickoff, I believe, and it's at the Rec. So let's see here. So we got Bath currently second in the Prem, Saracens 6th in the Prem. So if we're just going by that, well, you kind of can figure out who's potentially going to win. And then in terms of how they got here, so starting with Bath were the winners of Pool 2, and Saracens then 4th place in Pool 1, just about pipped the Hollywood Bet Sharks, both finishing on 10 match points, but Saracens with the better points difference. So what about their performances so far? Well, Bath start off with a 40 points to 14 win at home to Munster. Really blitzed them early on when I think Byrne went to the bin, right? Then followed up though with a away loss, 45-34 away to Toulon. Then they got away to Castres as well, but they win this one 43 points to 20. And then they finish off then with a big win at home to Edinburgh, 63 points to 10. Saracens then start actually pretty well in the pool. They beat Clermont 47-10, pretty convincing win. Then they go away to the Hollywood Bet Sharks. They lose that one 28-23. Then they're at home to Toulouse, a win there, 20 points to 14. And then finally then they lose to Glasgow, 28 points to 3. So yeah, looking at this, you would think that it should be a home win. As I said, you got Bath second place in the Prem at the minute. Last year, Bath didn't get out of the pool. I think they might have dropped down. They either didn't, they definitely didn't get out of the pool, but they may have dropped down to the Challenge Cup. I'm not too sure. And then Saracens only made the round of 16. So in contrast to the first one where one team is not going to progress as far as did last year, excuse me, one of these two teams is definitely going to progress further than they did last year. But in terms of predictions, I think I got to go with Bath. Pretty good form in this competition, pretty good form in the Prem as well. Saracens, they've shown previously that they really can turn on a big occasion, but I do think Bath will just have a little bit too much of them, so we're going to go for a Bath win in that one. Okay, on to the next one then, and it's RC Toulon versus DHL Stormers. This one is on Saturday as well. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff, so for some reason just starting two games at the same time. The Stade Felix Mayol, and this is an interesting one because looking at kind of the record of Stormers in previous years, you might have just said into knockout stages, they're going to send a weakened team and it's going to be a Toulon win, but we'll look at that again in a second. At the minute, Toulon 11th in the top 14, Stormers second in the RC, and really have had a bit of resurgence of form in recent weeks as well. And looking at their pool performances for the two teams, so starting with Toulon finishing second in Pool 1 to Glasgow, the runaway leaders, are winners of that pool, and then everyone else apart from Clermont really very tight between them after that. And then Stormers ended up third in Pool 3, which is won by Leinster, and it was basically pretty tight at the top between themselves, Harlequins and Leinster, and just the fact that they sent weakened teams maybe counted against the Stormers in the end, but they had a 7-point gap to who was it? To La Rochelle that finished fourth in that pool. So when we look at this, in the knockout stages, got to think it's probably going to be tighter than people think. But again, if we look at how the teams got here, so Toulon, first of all, they started off actually with a loss away to Edinburgh 33-20. Then they beat Bath 45-34, decent performance there. Then they beat Munster 27-25. That's one that maybe Munster felt maybe got away from them a little bit. And then finish up with a decent win away to Gloucester 31 points to 14. The Stormers then start away win against Bayonne 26-17. Then at home to La Rochelle 42-21, brilliant win there. But then a big dip, send a weakened team to Quins, and they lose 61 points to 10. And then after that, they beat Leicester 33 points to 26, and it was Leicester who pipped La Rochelle by a point. I've got a graphic here, I think it's on Super Brew. It's actually showing La Rochelle ahead of Leicester, and obviously that was not the case in the final standings. But yeah, looking at again last year's performance, Toulon got to the quarter-final. Stormers didn't make it out to pool stages. But what I'm hearing is Stormers are actually going to send a strong team to this one. So that's great news to hear from them. And given that, this one is maybe going to be, as I said, a lot closer than it maybe looks on paper, given the way the South African teams have kind of performed in knockout stages before. And I'm going to stick my neck out on this one, and I'm going to go for Stormers to win and to make it to a quarter final. Okay, on to the next game then, and that is Glasgow Warriors versus Vodacom Bulls. This one is on Saturday. Sorry, it is a 5:30 kickoff at Scotstoun Stadium. Glasgow runaway winners of the pool, and at the moment leaders of the URC as well. And yeah, again, you might look at it on paper and think it's Glasgow all the way, but let's look at it a little bit more. So Glasgow at the moment first in the URC, the Bulls eighth, and having a bit of resurgence as well themselves, a bit some better form lately. But in this competition this year, we've seen Glasgow first of all. They go away to Sale, they win 26-21, and then at home against Toulouse, they produced an amazing second half comeback, coming back from 21-0 down to win 28-21 with a bonus point. Then they go away to Clermont, they win 33-21, and then finally seal the pool with a home win against Saracens, 28 points to 3. And that made them one of the top two seeds coming in to these knockout stages. The Bulls, they start off with a loss at home, 46-33 to Bordeaux. Bordeaux actually got a really fast start. Then Bulls came back at them, got themselves ahead. But then second half, then Bordeaux just pulled away. And that was a very exciting game, that one. Next, then they go away to Northampton. They lose that one 50 points to 5. Sent a weakened team, and they got what they deserved. Then at home against Bristol, they lose 61 points to 49. That was another amazing game. Ding dong all the way. And then finish off them with an away win at Pau, 26 points to 24. And again, the Bulls were here, and again, it's actually going to be a pretty strong team that they're sending to Glasgow. And Bulls, they haven't won too many trophies since they've joined the URC, but they've been very good party poopers, and they would just love to go to Scotstoun and ruin Glasgow's big day. But in this one, I think Glasgow might have just a little bit too much for them, and I'm going to go for a Glasgow win, but for it to be a much tighter affair than maybe most people are expecting. Okay, on to the next game then, and it is the Kings of Europe, Toulouse versus Bristol Bears. Toulouse, I think they can count themselves lucky to actually have a home tie in this round of 16, because they're the only team that have just 2 wins in the pool stage that have a home tie. And by contrast, Bristol, who are away to them, actually won 3 of their 4 games as well. So yeah, I think Toulouse certainly very lucky to be at home, but they are at home, and this is a 5:30 kickoff as well, and it's the Stadium de Toulouse. And yeah, looking at this, you got Toulouse first in the top 14, Bristol 5th in the Prem, so maybe falling off a little bit there. And looking at how the teams got here, so start with Toulouse, home win against the Sharks, the Hollywood Sharks, 56 points to 19. Again, weakened team sent and duly dispatched. Then they lose 28-21 against Glasgow, that away one where they looked like they were cruising at half time and absolutely blew it. Then they lose again against Saracens away, 20 points to 14. Then they're back home an absolute blowout win, 77 points to 7 against Sale. Bristol, they start off, they go away to Scarlets, win 17-16. Then back home, 61-12 win against Pau. Then they go to the Bulls, they win there as well, 61 points to 49. And then finally, that loss against Bordeaux, which was, home game, shootout to win the pool as well. They lose at 27 points to 15. They gave it their all, but Bordeaux just too classy. I think, Bordeaux in the form that they showed in the pool stage is probably too much for any of the teams really in the competition. So, however, I think if anyone does knock Bordeaux out, they're going to have to cause them to have a bad day. You're not going to beat Bordeaux on a good day, I don't think, for Bordeaux at least. So then, last year Toulouse, they got to the semi-finals. Bristol didn't make it out of the pool stages, and I think like Toulouse at home, you've got the the whole thing as well of France winning the Six Nations. You've got Dupont is back. It feels like maybe momentum is going to be with Toulouse in this one. Bristol, I think, certainly will give it a go, and maybe it's going to be high scoring on both sides. But I think Toulouse take this one out. Okay, on to the next game, and that is Harlequins versus Sale Sharks. So this is another all-prem affair. It's on Saturday as well. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. It's at Twickenham Stoop. And we look at the pools. So Harlequins finished second to Leinster in Pool 3. And then Sale finished third in Pool 1 to Glasgow, with Toulouse ahead of them as well. So at the minute, Harlequins 9th in the Prem and Sale 7th in the Prem. So we're not talking about high-flying teams here, but still there's a quarter-final spot up for grabs. Quins, they start with a 45-28 loss away to Leinster, but they sent a young team and they really made Leinster work for that win. They caused us a lot of problems as well. Then at home, they beat Bayonne 68 points to 14. Then another big home win against the Stormers, 61 points to 10. And then finally, they go away to La Rochelle and they win 27 points to 17. So, other than that loss to Leinster, and that was a good performance, 3 good results for them as well. And then Sale start off at home, they lose to Glasgow 26-21. Then they go away to Claremont, they win 35-14. They then play the other Sharks, the Hollywood Sharks, and they win 26-10. And then finally that 77 points to 7 drubbing at the hands of Toulouse to finish out the pool stages for them. They'll be very happy that there is some time, a decent amount of time between that loss and this knockout stage as well. Last year, both teams eliminated at the round of 16, so one of them has that chance to progress further than they did last year. And for me, I think it's going to be Quins, so I'm going to back Quins for that one. Next game then is defending champions Bordeaux versus Leicester. And, you've got Bordeaux at the moment 4th in the top 14, Leicester in 3rd. And, Leicester, I think, need to clutch a little bit of straws in terms of finding some reason why they might beat Bordeaux, because they've been just imperious. But the fact that, doing a little bit better in the domestic league compared to how Bordeaux are doing, certainly one thing to look at. In terms of how they got here then, Bordeaux, they start off, go away to the Bulls, they win 46-33, brilliant comeback win. Then home to Scarlets, they win 50 points to 21. And repeat of last year's final, home to Northampton, 50 points to 28, just blow them away. And then finally then, that shootout for top spot in the pool, they beat Bristol 27 points to 15. Leicester, by contrast, They go away to La Rochelle. They lose at 39-20. Then home to Leinster. They lose 23-15, but showed a fair bit in that game and really made Leinster work for the win. Then home to Bayonne, big win, 57 points to 14. Then they finish off with a loss away to the Stormers, 39 points to 26. So, a difficult route to the to the round of 16. The only team I think that made a round of 16, no, actually the Bulls are the other team. Two teams in round of 16 only won one game, and unsurprisingly, they're against the number one seeds in this as well. So, looking at the pools, Bordeaux, they won their pool, and as I said, it was kind of shootout in the end between themselves and Bristol, but the fact that Bristol lost that game meant that they finished third behind the Saints, and Bordeaux finished top. And Bordeaux, I think, are number two seeds. Glasgow are number one seeds. And then Leicester finished fourth in the in Pool 3 that Leinster won, and only just about pipped La Rochelle there as well on points difference. So, really, again, similar to the Bulls, just about scraping into the knockout stages, but they're there. And, if you go back to Leinster of old, you could certainly see them going to Bordeaux and producing a result. But the difference between these two teams in the last couple of years, it's hard. It's hard to say, that Leicester are going to have much of a chance in this. Bordeaux winners last year. Leicester knocked out in the round of 16. I think that's going to happen again to them this year, and I'm going to go for a Bordeaux win in that one. On to then the final game of the round, and that is Leinster versus Edinburgh. This one is on Sunday. It's a 5:30 kickoff at the Aviva Stadium. Leinster, I think, are the number 3 seeds, and Edinburgh, another team, that just about scraped in to the knockout stages. Leinster, though, not in brilliant form recently, so Edinburgh certainly have, I think, more of a chance than most teams that meet Leinster in round of 16. Doesn't mean they're going to win, but we've seen Leinster in previous years absolutely destroying teams at this stage of the competition. They don't seem to be there at that level at all this year in any of their games. So Edinburgh make it a tight game, and who knows what's going to happen. Leinster in 4th place in the URC, Edinburgh down at 13th. So Edinburgh no chance for them in terms of qualifying for next year through the URC, because they're so far adrift now of those of the top 8 that even a miracle I don't think is going to get them qualified. And in terms of how the teams have done in the pools, so Leinster start off 45-28 win against a stubborn Harlequins team at home. Then go away to Leicester, another stubborn team. They beat them eventually 23-15. Then the game against La Rochelle, 25-24 win there. Harry Byrne taking the ball off Prendergast for that final kick to win the game, and probably Leinster's best performance of the season as well in that game. And funnily enough, I can't remember Prendergast having a good game off the tee since that game, so maybe that's had some effect on them mentally as well. And then to finish off, then they go away to Bayonne. They win 22 points to 13. Edinburgh, they start off actually pretty well. They beat Toulon 33 points to 20. Then they send a weak inside to Castres, and they get thumped 33 points to 0. Then back on the horse against Gloucester, 26-24 win. And then finally, another away game, another away thumping. They lose 63 points to 10 away to Bath. And yeah, so home form, 2 wins, away form, 2 big losses, and now they're in the round of 16, going away to Leinster, and they'll be looking at least to avoid a big loss. But last year, Leinster knocked out in the semi-finals. Edinburgh didn't even qualify for this competition. The only team as well in this round of 16 this year that hadn't qualified last year for the competition. And it looks like, on current placings, they're probably not going to be, like, out of this round of 16, probably not going to be the only team that don't qualify for this competition last year, because you got Toulon at the minute are in 11th in the top 14. You got Quins, who are currently 9th in the Prem as well, and in themselves 13th in the URC, and then there's a couple of other teams who were like 7th or 8th in their respective leagues as well. So we may not see a handful at least of these teams even back in this competition next year, but it's a big ask for Edinburgh. Again, Leinster not really in great form this year at all. Like we've seen very few really good performances from them. They looked very rusty as well coming back to the URC. Something I noticed as well, talked about it in terms of the overall performance of the players last week in the URC, that players actually played well. It's just that as a team, they weren't really gelling. So be interesting to see now, obviously a lot of them have moved from the Irish system now back into the Leinster system. They've had their head out. Can they get things working in this one? Because something we did see from Leinster and something we also saw from Ireland in the Six Nations was that, before those Leinster players went to the Ireland camp, we saw that they were beginning to get their attack going. And we saw through the Six Nations of Ireland as well, the attack developed with more games. But that's where Leinster are at the minute, is they're trying to play themselves into form. And in the knockout stages, you don't get too many chances to have a bad day at the office. So they've really got to find that form soon. And they'll be hoping, in this game against Edinburgh, that that's what's going to happen, that they're suddenly going to click. And, because at the minute you look at this Leinster team and you think, will they even, first of all, can they make it through the round of 16? My prediction is yes. But after that, then you look at quarterfinals and you're thinking, whoever they're playing in the quarterfinals is going to be a decent challenge for them, even though they are going to be at home for quarterfinal at least. It's looking like if they can make it back to semi-finals this year, it's going to be away from home. Obviously depending on how the results go, but not one of the top 2 seeds, so you can't assume that they're going to be at home if they make it that far. But at the minute, thinking quarterfinal might be as far as this team go on their current form. But for the minute at least, prediction for this is a Leinster win. So that's a look at the round of 16. We'll do the same as well tomorrow for the Challenge Cup, and then over the weekend, then we'll cover as many of the games as we can. Most of them will be Champions Cup, because if you can cover, I'd prefer to cover a Champions Cup game if it's available for me to watch. But we'll see how many games I can kind of cover. But yeah, let me know what your predictions are down in the comments.